It's all good. Yeah.
I could not find any more
I'm
templates.
grateful to have the vision. Great. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Great.
Shall we?
Yeah.
Dwayne, you okay? All right, let's do it. Welcome home to all of you. Welcome. Come, come. Whoever you are welcome here. No matter your age, your size, the color of your eyes, your hair, your skin, you are welcome here. No matter how you came here, if you came alone, if you came with others, you are welcome here. No matter whom you love or how you speak or whatever your abilities, you are welcome here. Whether you come with laughter in your heart or tears in your eyes, you are welcome here. If you come with an open mind, a loving heart, and willing hands, then you are indeed welcome here. Thank you for that. That was wonderful. So, friends, welcome. Welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Church of New Orleans. We are a congregation that has gathered in love since 1833 to seek wholeness and justice in this world. We are a lay-led congregation, and my name is Michael Martin. My pronouns are he and him. If you are a visitor and you're feeling so inclined, please raise your hand so we can greet you properly and welcome you. We're glad you're here. On Sunday mornings, we ask you ministers, other religious professionals, leaders from social justice organizations, and our own members to be voices of hope, courage, and personal enrichment or intellectual transformation from our pulpit. Our worship leader today fulfills all those categories. She's a community activist, a reverend, I believe, speaks for those who don't have voices, all the values we hold as Unitarians. Welcome, Alison McCrary. We're glad you're here. All right. And we can do the chalice lighting now. All right.
We are not alone. We are not alone. We are this flame, ancient as the stars, new as the vulnerable spark. We are not alone. We are this chalice, rimmed by the spiral dance of searching. We are not alone. We are the light soaring, the shadow deepening, the dance between them. We are not alone. We are the heirs of the tribes and their fires, the healers and their circles. We are not alone. We are here. We are here for ourselves. We are here for each other, and we are not alone.
Please stand as you are willing and able and join in singing hymn number 108 in your gray hymnal, My Life Flows On. Now we'll have the time for all ages.
Good morning. Good morning. Can you hear me okay? I didn't test the mic before. Yeah? Okay, great. I'm back. Yay. Yay. Thank you. I've been on medical leave for 3 months. I'm still healing, but I'm back, and it feels really good to be with all of you again. I've missed you. I'm going to do a few things for Time for All Ages today. One, I wanted to share that the RE team and I put together some pew packs at the back of the sanctuary. They're in a little basket next to some playful flowers and some instructions, and they're for kids or those young at heart. Really, please don't be shy if you're like, I'm not a kid, but maybe I'm young at heart. You are, and there's something in those pew packs for you too. So each pack, there's some that are for like ages 8 and under, and some for ages 8 and up, and they all have some drawing activities or coloring and some fidgets and some toys, so feel free to interact with them. There's some instructions and description right there next to it, so feel free to play at your pew if you like, and then put them back after, or if you notice a young person that hasn't seen them yet, make sure that they know about it. We hope this will help kids to feel more welcome in our congregation. So they're right by the door. Take a peek when you get a chance. And also, I ordered these Our Shared Values, Unitarian Universalists, that has like the little flower. Well, this one kind of looks like more like an atom or like a cell or something. But anyway, flower-esque. The UUA just put this out, description of our new values. It has what I'm going to talk about today, but also a little bit more about the living tradition, being a covenantal faith, not a creedal faith. So if you're new to our church, or you're visiting, or you're new to Unitarian Universalism, or you've been here for 40 years and you're just curious about it, there's some next to the welcome RE packs on the welcome table, so feel free to take a peek or take one home or bring to a friend or whatever. But this is in lieu, like they used to have those little cards that you could put in your wallet with the principles, so this is kind of like that, but a pamphlet and more informative. So I hope y'all will enjoy checking that out. And I heard that we were having a little trouble remembering what all the values were. Is that right? It's hard. Yeah, and they're new. So, or they're languaged differently. I don't know that they're new, but they're languaged differently. So I thought that now that I'm back, that we would practice together again. And I also wanted to share, because I don't know if everyone here has heard the full language of what the new values are. So this was published in the winter version of the UU World, which is the Unitarian Universalist magazine, for those of you who aren't familiar with it. And it has like the full language that's now in our bylaws. So I'm going to read that to you, and we're going to go over the flower thing. And one more thing that we're going to do while we're doing this is I want y'all, when we're going over each of the words, everyone pick one of the words that maybe one of the values that you could maybe practice living into a little bit more. We're all learning and growing and embracing these at different levels and different times, and so maybe you're like, you know what, I could be more generous with my money or my time or my heart, or, I mean, everyone here is very generous with their time, so nobody volunteer more. Just kidding. But maybe you need to be a little more generous, or maybe you're like, I'm really always been curious and feeling into interdependence more and what that means. So just pick one to dive more deeply into this week or this month or this season. Which one kind of speaks to you and excites you? Okay, so we're going to go over, I'm going to read the beginning of the covenant, and then we're going to go through the 7 values. All right. As Unitarian Universalists, we covenant congregation to congregation, and through our association to support and assist one another in our ministries. We draw from heritages of freedom, reason, hope, courage, building on the foundation of love. So the first one. Who remembers number 1? So we also learned this on our hands, and this was created by Emily C. Jones, and it's a way for us to help remember to like count it on our hand, count it on our fingers. So, and it doesn't matter, there's not like an actual order, because it's just like they're in a circle around love, but this will help us to remember what they are. So who remembers what number 1 is? I'll give you a hint. It's like a little seed, and then it grows. Transformation, very good, Margot. All right, transformation, can everyone do? So you're like, it's like a little seed and then it sprouts. Transformation. Let's say transformation. Transformation, yay. Okay, great. Transformation. We adapt to the changing world. We covenant to collectively transform and grow spiritually and ethically. Openness to change is fundamental to our Unitarian and Universalist heritages. Never complete and never perfect. Transformation. 2. Equity, very good. It's like a little equal sign. Equity. Everyone say equity. Equity. Yay. All right, where's equity? We declare that every person is inherently worthy and has the right to flourish with dignity, love, and compassion. Wow, that's beautifully written. We covenant to use our time, wisdom, attention, and money to build and sustain fully accessible and inclusive communities. Equity. 3. Pluralism, very good. Pluralism. Pluralism. We celebrate that we are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, and theology. We covenant to learn from one another in our free and responsible search for truth and meaning. We embrace our differences and commonalities with love, curiosity, and respect. 3. Can you all say pluralism? Pluralism. Yay, very good. 4. This one's tricky. Justice. 4. Justice. Can we all say justice? Justice. I know it's confusing because it's 4, but then you you put your thumb, the 4 down, and then your thumb over it. It's an imperfect, memory. But 4, justice. Okay, great. We work to be diverse, multicultural, beloved communities where all thrive. We covenant to dismantle racism and all forms of systemic oppression. We support the use of inclusive democratic processes to make decisions with our congregations, our association, and society at large. 4, justice. 5, generosity, very good. So generosity, can we all say generosity? Generosity. Great. Then I have to find them on the thing. Okay, generosity. We cultivate a spirit of gratitude and hope. We covenant to freely and compassionately share our faith, presence, and resources. Our generosity connects us to one another in relationships of interdependence and mutuality. 5, generosity. All right, 6. Who knows what 6 is? It's woven in. It's not one of the words, though. No. It's similar-ish. Love, very good. So 6 is so this is a pen, and then you go draw a little heart in the center of your palm. Isn't that sweet? Heart and love, because love's at the center of everything. It's also number 6. Love is the power that holds us together and is the center of our shared values. We are accountable to one another for doing the work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love. Okay, and one more, number 7. Who remembers 7? It's a little 7. So it's a little person, and they're ooh, what's over here? And then they bend down and they look at the palm, and then it's not a heart anymore in the palm. Now it's something different. What's in the palm this time? What is it? Interdependence. So see how there's this all the little lines and they intersect on your hand. They're all interconnected and interdependent. That's us. So interdependence. Where'd it go? Interdependence. We honor the interdependent web of all existence with reverence for the great web of life. With humility, we acknowledge our place in it. We covenant to protect the earth and all beings from exploitation. We will create and nurture sustainable relationships of care, respect, mutuality, justice, and we will work to repair harm and damaged relationships. So, I know that's really, really a lot of words that I just shared, but the whole Unitarian Universalist Association and teams went through so much care and intention in choosing the words that we would use to express our values. So that's why I wanted to share it with y'all today, and I hope that you'll check it out again. And we're gonna say all the things together one more time, and then I'll step down and let the service continue. Okay. 1, transformation. 2, equity. 3, pluralism. 4, justice. 5, generosity. 6, love. 7, very good. So I hope you'll pick one of the words to play with or work with this week or this month or this season, and thank you.
Our prayer and meditation this morning is a prayer I wrote as my friends and spiritual directees on Louisiana's death row were receiving execution dates, and I had copies printed on prayer cards in the back for you to pick up on your way out. And so if you feel comfortable, I invite you to close your eyes, or you may keep them open as you choose. Creator and source of all life, let us remember that all we do is interconnected. Let us commit ourselves to respecting all life. Let our hearts expand and deepen into the earth. Let us be filled with love to nurture this world. Let us be filled with courage to act for what is just. Help us to practice forms of justice that bring healing, forms of justice that build up our communities, forms of justice that address root causes, forms of justice that shift cycles of harm. Help us to seek reconciliation and accountability, to shift from punishment to repair, from control to support, starting with ourselves. May we replace violence with compassion. May we replace vengeance with care. May all people know that their lives are sacred. May we move in love, in justice, and in mercy. Amen.
Please remain as you are and join me in saying the words from Henry David Thoreau's Civil Disobedience from a night that he spent in jail protesting the poll tax which supported slavery. After all, the practical reason why, when the power is once in the hands of the people, a majority are permitted and for a long period continue to rule is not because they are most likely to be in the right, nor because this seems fairest to the minority, but because they are physically the strongest. But a government in which the majority rule in all cases cannot be based on justice, even as far as men understand it. Can there not be a government in which majorities do not virtually decide right and wrong, but conscience, in which majorities decide only those questions to which the rule of expediency is applicable? Must the citizen ever for a moment, or in the least degree, resign his conscience to the legislation? Why has every man a conscience then?
Hope. Hope is being able to see that there is light despite all the darkness, said Archbishop Desmond Tutu, a South African Anglican cleric, theologian, and anti-apartheid activist. There's no shortage of darkness in our world. Systems are collapsing. The project of capitalism has turned into a medieval feudalism, where politics and economics are the same in terms of who has power, hierarchy rules, and power is exchanged for loyalty and service. The colonial project of Israel continues as genocide resumes in Gaza, with 700 Palestinians killed, including 200 children this past week alone. In the United States, 6 people were scheduled for state-sanctioned murder by the death penalty just last week. Louisiana suffocated Jesse Hoffman in a gas mask. I accompanied Jesse for the past 20 years. Other executions took place in Arizona, Oklahoma, and Florida. Funding cuts at the national level are deeply impacting people on the margins and the poorest of the poor as others get rich. People are losing jobs by the thousands every week. But hope is being able to see light in the darkness. Hope isn't just wishful thinking or optimism, but rather the ability to recognize and find aspects of life that are positive even when surrounded by darkness and challenges. This is what those on Louisiana's death row have taught me over the past 20 years. Jesse Hoffman, who was killed in our name this week by the government of Louisiana, wanted us to remember the light. He wanted his memorial service that we held yesterday to be a celebration of his life, not a time of mourning. As he walked down to the execution chamber, he wore a t-shirt that said "Life's Row." The guys on death row prefer to call it Life's Row, even up until the moment, minutes before their death. His favorite color was yellow, a joyful and hopeful color. So I've been wearing yellow in his memory since his transition. Jesse was a practicing Buddhist. At his memorial, he asked for the heart of the Great Perfect Wisdom Sutra to be read. Part of it reads, "The body itself is emptiness, and emptiness itself is this body. The same is true of feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness. All phenomena bear the mark of emptiness, their true nature of no birth and no death, no being, no non-being, no defilement, no purity, no increasing, no decreasing." It reminds me of what Catholic priest Richard Rohr says, that we must die before dying. And I think those on death row are profound in teaching us how to do that, how letting go of our egos and seeking the divine before our time has come. Jesse knew that death was coming. He told me he wasn't scared of death, that he was ready for it. He said, "Everyone dies. This is just how I'm going to be going home." And though I don't know the deepest parts of Jesse's heart, our conversations and others led me to believe that he didn't fear death the same way that most of us would. The words "do not be afraid and have no fear" appear in the Christian scriptures 365 times. And do you think that the authors of these scriptures wanted to convey this message more clearly? Jesse understood it. Bravery is acting despite the fear, and Jesse taught us how to be brave. He had a mystical nature that is hard to cultivate here in the free world. That's what the guys on death row call where we get to be. Jesse's death activated more people in Louisiana around ending the death penalty than perhaps any other time in the history of our state. He knew this and was grateful for it. Hundreds of you and faith leaders wrote letters to the governor. Dozens of business owners came together around it. Veterinarians organized and wrote letters and held press conferences and said, "We're not even allowed by our ethical standards to use gassing on dogs and cats, and you're doing it on humans." Jewish people came together to make statements against the method of gassing as it reminded them of what was used on their ancestors during the Holocaust. People woke up, and Jesse knew the impact his death was having on others. Archbishop Tutu's words also suggest that hope is a powerful force that can help individuals and communities navigate difficult times and find solutions. You all showed up at vigils, you prayed, many people wrote letters, many of you followed it on the news, you called the governor's office, you talked to others about it, you did something and you used your gifts. We don't find our voice, someone acknowledges our voice. And that's what those who are hidden from us behind prison cells and gates and doors and border walls want their voices to be acknowledged. In the Christian scriptures, there's a book called the Book of Esther. And in chapter 4, she states, "You were born for a time as this." It's a time to recognize our unique gifts as these systems collapse. And I don't mean our unique gifts in terms of what we do for work or for our career or in capitalism. I invite us to think outside of capitalism for what gifts you have and how you can support the liberation of others. Are you a good listener? Are you a good baker and can bake for movement organizers? Can you make beautiful art to inspire and create protest posters? Can you write an op-ed? Can you call someone? Are you good at building relationships and talking to your neighbors about important things, like the 4 constitutional amendments currently on our ballot for the March 29th election? Whatever your talents, I want you to think about them and make a list of them. Your list of gifts outside of capitalism that you can do to support the liberation of others and how you can use them in this time. Historian and philosopher Howard Zinn wrote, "To be hopeful in bad times is not just foolishly romantic. It is based on the fact that human history is a history not only of cruelty, but also of compassion, sacrifice, courage, and kindness. What we choose to emphasize in this complex history will determine our lives. If we only see the worst, it destroys our capacity to do something. If we remember those times and places, and there are so many, where people have behaved magnificently, this gives us the energy to act, and at least the possibility of sending this spinning top of a world into a different direction. And if we do act, in however a small way, we don't have to wait for some grand utopian future. The future is an infinite succession of presents, and to live now as we think human beings should live, in defiance of all that is bad around us, is itself a marvelous victory. As people on a spiritual journey trying to make meaning of life in this room, we are called to cultivate some level of a contemplative life. I call it contemplative activism, combining our actions in the face of injustice with our spiritual lives. And I've put together a list of 10 characteristics that I've seen among those of you who I consider contemplative activists. 1, you're grounded in a spiritual practice. And I invite you to think about, what are your practices? And I've put together a list of some of my practices on the back table for you to take home if you like. These are things that help us cultivate an inner life. We are what we practice. A practice is something that we do repeatedly to create a well-worn path so it becomes easy to do again and again. Most practices that we have are just unintentional habits. And so I invite you to pay attention to what grows. as a practice. What practices will move you towards what you want? And I invite you to choose practices to contribute towards a shared flourishing for ourselves, for those that we love, and for the world. And to not think that things are part of our fixed personalities. We're all able to transform. And know that what we believe in and desire, and we can move towards that. The second characteristic of a contemplative activist is decolonization, decolonizing our lives and the systems that perpetuate colonized behaviors and mentalities. Chris Sepulveda, who I accompanied on death row for 20 years, was 81 years old in a wheelchair and in hospice when Governor Jeff Landry had the district attorney and the judge schedule an execution for him of this past Monday. Chris was an enrolled citizen of the Choctaw Apache Nation out of Zwolle, Louisiana. And when I contacted the tribal council of the Choctaw Apache tribe, they said the death penalty is not part of our tradition. We believe in the sanctity of human life. That's part of colonized culture. And so I think about the ways how we can decolonize our lives, and it doesn't mean studying what people who are indigenous, those of us who are of native heritage, do, but to study colonization if you are part of settler heritage. The third practice is that of deep listening, listening deeply to one another and to what people's values are. When I was a Catholic nun for 14 years, and one of our practices was to go to the Republican National Convention and Democratic National Convention every year for ministry. And we pulled little red wagons of lemonade to have a lemonade ministry. And our job was to listen to people. And we asked people outside of these conventions two things. We asked them, what do you fear? And what gives you hope? And there were very different answers to both of those populations. And I think about how that may have shifted now. At that time, when I did it, it was 2016, Hillary Clinton was running. And at the RNC, people could rattle off a whole list of fears and nothing that gave them hope. And I think some of us in this room now could rattle off a lot of things that give us fear and have little hope. And so hope is this radical thing, and by listening deeply to others, we can listen to their values and see where they stand, and try to shift and move them towards the values of life, of justice, of dignity. The fourth characteristic of a contemplative activist is a willingness to build power and to challenge power. And I think, as Katie had shared earlier about transformation and our ability to transform, and I think now's a time for us to not be in tactical mode of do, but to be in this transformative mode that requires deep reflection and contemplation. The fifth is following the leadership from those closest to the pain or the problem, believing that those who are closest to the pain and the problem are closest to the solutions. They know their stories, they know their challenges, and they have ideas for the solutions, and how can we listen more deeply to them. The sixth is genuine relationship building. How are we deepening relationships and cultivating new and more broad relationships with others, especially those who are impacted by systems of oppression. The seventh is cultivating community. It's what you all do here as a congregation. It's what a lot of you do outside of this congregation. Sister Helen Prejean, who wrote the book Dead Man Walking, and it was based on a movie was created called Dead Man Walking after that. She always told me, Allison, you can never have too much community. Keep growing more and more community. So think about how we can grow more community, how you can grow more community. The eighth is having an ever-evolving and deepening of our political analysis, values, and language. And so thinking about your own story for what may have radicalized you at a moment. Was it a person? Was it an experience? Was it a protest? Was it hearing the story of someone that transformed your heart? What activated you to work for social change? The ninth is to take risk and to live and that braveness of acting in the face of fear. And the 10th is holding on to radical hope. And I want to say something about hope. One of my teachers from the year 300 is St. Augustine of Hippo. He was from Northern Africa. And he says, hope has two beautiful daughters, anger and courage. Anger at the way things are, and the courage to change it. And when we found out that people were getting execution dates on death row, and as Jesse prepared for his execution, I told the guys, I said, whenever anyone is sent to the death house, is what they call it, I said, I want you to look outside your small prison window, and we're going to sing a song. It was written by incarcerated people in South Africa during the apartheid. And it's what they sung to each other as they were sent to the gallows. And the words are, that I taught them, are, courage, brother, you do not walk alone. We will walk with you and sing your spirit home. And as Jesse Hoffman was taken to the death house on Tuesday, the guys were singing it as loud as they could outside of their windows. And I was with them this Saturday before yesterday on death row, and we practiced it during our visitation, and they shared it with each other on their tier. And I said, we're going to sing it as loud as we can. I said, and there's going to be dozens of us outside of these prison gates singing it with you. And said, maybe we'll hear each other's voices. And so we sung that song on Tuesday as Jesse was taken to the execution chamber for the state-sanctioned murder. Whenever we engage in some action of holy resistance to forces of oppression, we are creating sacraments. Sacraments is where God is present, our spirit universe is present and made manifest. I'm Catholic, and in our Catholic tradition, a sacrament requires some physical component, an incarnation, an embodiment of an act or an action. And in my tradition, while traditionally these are the rites of baptism, of communion, the Eucharist, of penance, our relationship with God deepens every time we engage in some sacrament, to make something sacred, to make something divine, to see the holy in something. And that happens when we engage in a holy act of resistance. It's an encounter with the divine through others, and it often happens in unexpected ways. And many of us see this as a channel for grace to come through us. And from whether it's from protest to political engagement, like voting and electing officials who can make decisions to move us towards creating a world where it's just, for me, it's living into this Christian prayer, the Our Father, of doing on earth as it is in heaven, and living into that. And I think we can and are a visible sign of the reality of spirit in the world, and can channel grace to manifest through that. And these acts that we do of sacramental value can transform our consciousness to evolve new realities aligned with divine mystery and divine love. And there's three things that can help us deepen these realities when we engage in acts to find the divine or holy or sacred in all things. It's intention, attention, and repetition. So we set the intention to be open to the divine energy within us. This means aligning ourselves with divine mystery and divine love, and this is how we enter into what I think is the next stage of our evolutionary consciousness as individuals and as a human species. The next is attention. What we give our attention to reflects our values and shifts our consciousness. And the last is repetition, and that goes back to those practices, the things that we do repeatedly. Prayer cultivates and sends out a positive energy into the world. It's our way of being in relationship with the divine, and we know that when we do this, the energy fields are transformed forever. Whatever energy we put out is forever there. If we put out negative energy, it's forever there. If we put out energy of love, it's always there. We repeat it over and over again in the ways we learn, and we learn to deepen and grow in this relationship to create the world that we want to see. And where some people who are Christian are in a season called Lent right now. And during the season of Lent, people are called to set an intention, to give up something, to give it attention, do something with it, and then to repeat it. And in Lent, there's 3 practices, prayer, fasting, and almsgiving. And one practice I like to cultivate during the season of Lent is presence. And I think the power of presence is powerful, and sometimes I feel like I don't have words. What do you say to someone who is about to face state-sanctioned murder? And I'm reminded of how people have been present to me and how I can be present to others. And during the season of Lent, it's a time where people of the Christian tradition focus on Jesus' death. And there were 3 women who were present to Jesus during his death. In the book of John, the Christian scripture reads, "Standing at the cross of Jesus were his mother and his mother's sister Mary, the wife of Clopas, and Mary of Magdala. And they were present to Jesus during his death." And I think, how are we to be present to those who are suffering and those who are dying, and to ensure that suffering and death never have the final word, but only love does? One of my teachers is Father Dan Berrigan. Does anyone know Dan? Have anyone heard of Dan Berrigan? Raise your hand. Oh, good. Many of you, yay. So Dan Berrigan was a Jesuit priest, an anti-war pacifist, and was one of the draft card burners during the Vietnam War. And he was asked to give a commencement speech at a high school one year. And he went up to the podium, and he said only one sentence. He said, "Know where you stand, and stand there." And he went and he sat down. Know where you stand and stand there. And so who has asked you to stand somewhere? Somewhere that's uncomfortable? Somewhere that's risky? Who has asked you to stand by them as they were suffering in a time of oppression? Who has asked you to stand by them during their death? Who was facing a painful moment and you said yes to that, and you stood by them anyway? Who has left a tattoo on your own heart and gave you some meaning that you will never forget? Who is asking you to stand by them now in the face of oppression, or what I call sin? I'm reminded of the song written in 1961 by Benny King. "When the night has come and the land is dark, and the moon is the only light we'll see. No, I won't be afraid. Oh, I won't be afraid. Just as long as you stand by me." The lyrics of the song say, "When the night has come and the land is dark, our governments kill people in the darkness of night, whether it's on death row in the United States or what's happening in Gaza." The former warden of Angola, Burl King, he told me, "Alison, I don't set the time for when this execution happens. God does. It happens at sunset. God sets the sun." I said, "That's not true." The song "Stand By Me" comes to mind as I accompany people and they ask me to stand by them. First, I was a paralegal on their cases when I was just 22 years old. And then they told me to go to law school because they said, "We need lawyers who know how to love us." And then I became a Catholic nun and became their spiritual advisors. And now I've been working and coordinating a group called Louisiana Interfaith Against Executions. And though Chris Sepulvedo, who is 81 years old, and Jesse Hoffman have transitioned into another realm now, I continue to accompany others and support the 24 other spiritual advisors who accompany those on death row and who stand by them. I'm blessed to have the privilege of accompanying them, starting first as a naive young woman in my mid-20s, being the daughter of an incarcerated dad, and learning what happened to my own family wasn't normal. I've had the privilege and sacred work of now seeing God in the faces of people society has deemed as monsters, and serving as their spiritual advisor is their request. As a Catholic woman, my ministerial roles in my denomination are limited. I'm not allowed to preach at my church, so thank you for having me here. I'm not allowed to read Gospels, so thanks for letting me say a couple of readings from the Gospel at this podium in this pulpit. I don't know what you Unitarians call it. I'm not allowed to provide the sacraments or be ordained in the Catholic tradition, but the guys on death row told me many times, Allison, we ordain you. We want you to baptize our grandchildren. We want you to hear our confession. We want you to preside over our funeral. We want you to bring us communion. We don't want it from the male priest who comes through here. We don't think he likes us. And I see their hearts and I hear their suffering that they've endured, and it's beyond our imagination of what harms people could do. It's a privilege for me to accompany them and for them to have ordained me, I guess. John Thompson and Glenn Ford were two other people from death row whose funerals they asked me to preside over, and they're here with us in spirit today too. John was on death row for 18 years for a murder he didn't do, and later died prematurely of a heart attack after coming home and after founding a nonprofit called Resurrection After Exoneration. Glenn Ford did 30 years on death row for a murder he didn't do and died within a year of coming home of brain, bone, and lung cancer that went undiagnosed and untreated inside of Angola. This witnessing and watching helped me encounter the face of love, the face of God in places I could never imagine. So our systems are broken, obviously. And where might you encounter the face of love, the face of the divine, the face of spirit? Where are the places you may not feel comfortable going that could nudge you to see the holy and divine in unlikely places? I see hope, the hope that St. Augustine talked about, the hope that Howard Zinn talked about, the hope that Archbishop Desmond Tutu talked about in a number of places. I see it in the people of Palestine, fighting for a free Palestine as their lives are threatened by genocide and their homelands are utterly and completely destroyed to ash by a settler colonial project. They give me hope. When I apologize to my Palestinian friends, whether it's through a message on Instagram that I got from people in Gaza or from Palestinians here in our own community, and I apologize for my tax dollars killing their families and their friends, and tell them I'm grieving and praying with them, they respond in hope. They continue to hold on to the hope that one day there will be a free Palestine without occupation and illegal mass killings. Though it perplexes my mind, they have a spirit of resistance to oppression that allows them to still have hope in the midst of utter devastation and tragedy. This is radical hope. The people on death row also give me hope. In one of the darkest places in our countries where no one wants to look, there are guys asking for forgiveness from each other. Chris Sepulvedo, who I told you about, who was scheduled for execution last Monday, he always told me, Allison, I'm not going to let this government kill me. Watch me. He exhausted all his appeals. And Chris, his nickname is Shorty. He comes up to my shoulders. I'm 5'4". He's like, I don't know, 4'8" or something. But Spirit, he was right. He was in a wheelchair, he was in hospice, and he was not going to let the government take his life. He was able to die on his own terms with his dignity intact a couple weeks ago before his scheduled execution date. Chris loved to feed the blackbirds that would come to his window. He would save a little food from his meal that the prison would bring him, and he would crumble it up and he would put it through the cracks in the window to feed the birds that would come. And he always told me that the birds were the nuns that used to visit him that have died, and that the birds come to visit him to remind him that he's still loved and still thought about. And he wanted to continue to care for the birds in the way that the nuns had cared for him. And it helped him to remember that he is not alone, as we read in our opening this morning for service. So he continued to care for them, and whenever I see blackbirds now that he has transitioned, I'm reminded of our call to stay in relationship with each other during these times. I'm reminded of our call to stay close to each other, to care deeply for each other, to hold on to radical hope, and to know that suffering and death will never have the final word, and that only love will. Thank you.
We will now take the offering. Please read the offering acknowledgement with me in the order of service. This gift from the abundance of my life blesses me, our ministries, and the world. I did not get any announcements unless I'm mistaken, so I think we can move on past that. Please rise as you are willing and able, and we can do the chalice extinguishing. The words are in your order of service, and then remain standing, please.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. Those we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Please join in singing our closing hymn, number 1015, I Know I Can, in the teal hymnal.
So may we go in love and peace, remembering our interconnectedness, remembering our oneness, and may the flame of our hearts that set our hearts on fire to work for justice and peace in this world continue to burn bright as we stay close to each other and care for one another. Thank you.
Please turn to greet your neighbor and join us for coffee after the service.